You so much for joining my videos. As usual, I came up with another interesting topic in this video. Before that, in the previous video, I have shown how to deploy your API, simple API. I did not write any code, how to deploy by using Visual Studio. Now, how to secure your APIs. So now I will show the code. My API is making changes to the Azure. So I created an API which has endpoints. Those endpoints will manage resource groups in the Azure. It's going to create a resource group and pull the existing resource groups. You can delete a resource group. So that kind of API I developed and that I'm going to deploy in my app service. So this API needs security. Since it's dealing with your Azure resources, which is creating resource group, deleting resource group, which is basically doing the real-time work, it need to be secured before it's executing the API, before the execution of the code is happening. It should be secured. Only the authorized persons with valid credentials, they can only execute this API. Otherwise, my Azure tenant will be messed up with multiple spam resource group creations. So that is not acceptable. So the code, whatever API is dealing with real-time relations, need to be secured. So first I'll show in this video, I'll show what kind of code I have written. Then I'll show how to deploy that into the app service by using Visual Studio only. And then I will execute without any credentials. Then I will apply some secure mechanism to protect the API. Then I'll try to hit it without credentials. Definitely it will throw an error. Then I will show um, how to configure the credentials, how to fetch the valid credentials, and then I use those credentials into the request so that I can hit the API properly. Let's walk through the code. So this video is going to be very interesting and very useful, and in real life in Azure, um, you are deploying an API, have to secure. So this is one of the way to secure, and this is one of the way to generate the tokens. So this is very important and a real-time scenario. Please watch. So let's walk through the API. So this is my API, the sample API. So here I have controllers and models and services. I created a model. So this is trying to replicate your resource group name and location. If you want, you can add a tags collection, but I'm not going to do that. And I created a service, and this service I created in like interface dependency collection model. So I have IDT resource group resource manager service. So this has 4 methods in it, like getting all the resources, getting all the resource groups, getting a resource group by name, creating a resource group by the name, and deleting the resource. So the same I implemented in this service. So where I'm using the HTTP client, injecting the HTTP client factory. Then I implemented all the methods. So resource group asynchronously. So this code, I hide it. I hide some code because I stored the secrets. For simplicity, I stored the secrets in the code itself, which is not a way of doing it. But I'm not going, I'm not concentrating on the things. At the same time, know the code for how to create the resource group. delete the resource group and how to create the ARM client object. So if you want a detailed explanation, you can go through my previous Azure videos where I explained in detail. Basically, this service has four um, methods, like which is deleting, retrieving all the resource group, retrieving a specific resource group, and creating the resource group. In program.cs, I implemented couple of uh, dependencies, like for HTTP client factory, I have to add HTTP client, and this is to define the service in my controller. So these are the packages I installed: Azure.identity, Azure.manager, in order to write the code for accessing the resource groups, etc. So now my API is ready for deployment. So before deploying into Azure, I recommend you to test it locally. And once the testing is completed, then here, open the Solution Explorer, right click on it, click on Publish. So create a new profile. This was the earlier profile I created deploying. So click on Azure. So again, if you want detailed steps how to deploy your API into Azure, you can go for the previous video. So this is for the main focus is for securing the API. Next, click on Azure App Service. Click on create a new instance. I'm going to follow the recommendation given by the Visual Studio. If you want, you can change it. I'm going to create it. So it will take few moments because it's going to create a new app service plan and app service for your premises. Let's give some time. So the app service has been created. So you can select the slot, click on next tab, skip API management, edit. Now it's going to publish your changes, and you can see ready to publish. Click on publish. This is the URL. It's going to click on publish. So now you are going to see different steps: validating, publishing credentials, publishing to Azure App Service, the plan you selected. Again, it takes a couple of minutes. Now installing ASP.NET Core site extensions, whatever extensions required for your application. Then warming up your site. So maybe the deployment is completed and it's trying to restart it. And finally, the publishing successfully completed, and you can open the URL. So this is the API URL, and did not define any startup page. That's why it's giving skip that. But if you want to call the API, suffix API DT resource group manager. So now it's displaying the information. So these are the resource groups we have in our tenant. And now I deployed an API in my Azure. That Azure API, the API which I deployed in my Azure, it's retrieving information from the Azure tenant and it's displaying here. So it's live data. So this API, it's ready to integrate, but without having any credentials, you can hit the API, which is not recommended. So you have to secure your API. I'll show how to call this from Postman in the next slide. Then we will go for the credentials part. Okay, so this is my Postman, and you can see the URL here. I do not have any tokens. I did not include any tokens. I'm calling the get method and I'm clicking on send. So it's retrieving the information from there. So I clearly explained in the previous playlists how to install and set up your postman to call your APIs. So if you want more information how to set up and everything, you please go back and watch my previous videos. Let's see what happened in the Azure. So the deployment, it created a new resource group. And in the new resource group, it created a app service plan, and log analytics workspace. So these are and here the app service, it deployed your application, deployed your code. Yeah, that's it. Now, now we will talk about our security issue. So this is the app service where our API code has been deployed. So now your API is public. Everyone can call this API and they can dump your Azure tenant with a lot of spam resource groups. They can delete existing resource group. They can do whatever they want, which is a security breach to your Azure tenant. So the code, whatever you deployed, it needs to be secured. So now we will see how to secure your API. Since this is the app service and where your code has been deployed, so we need to do something here to secure your API. So let's see what options we have. So under settings, if you go to authentication, so right now this tab is empty. I did not define any authentication. So there are various ways to do that. So if possible, I'll try to make videos on all other approaches. But in this video, we are going to see how to secure your APIs by using identity provider, and in this case, I'm using the service principal. So let's define. So add identity provider. So then you can select. You can have different identity providers, but I'm going to select Microsoft. So workforce configuration, external configuration. So I'm going to do workforce configuration, and here app registration. So since I mentioned we're going to secure our APIs by using service principals, which are app registrations. So if you want to know more about app registrations and service principles, please watch my previous videos. But here you can create a new app registration, or you can pick an existing app registration, provide the details of an existing app registration like that. You can, if you know the IDs, you can just enter here, or if you want to pick, the search will allow you to pick it. But I'm going to create a new app registration, and I'm going to use it for this security. So here, this is the name it's going to give. If you want, you can change it, but I'm going to keep it as it is. And then you can select the secret rotation or expiration, and current tenant. So I'm going to select only current tenant. So allow requests only from this application itself, or if you want, you can make it request from any application. Is not recommended. But in this case, we'll try to switch and see what will happen. Allow request from any identity. Allow requests from, these are the default values I'm going to keep. Like if you want to filter, so it's going to access requests from only this tenant. If you want to allow or specific requests, you can select this, or if you want to restrict any issuer, you can do that. Going to require authentication, I have to make it true. Everything I kept it the default ones, and next I'm going to add. So this step, it's going to create a new app registration, and it's going to add. So under authentication identity providers, the app registration, whatever we created, it's added here. If you want to see the app registrations, I'm opening the same in the new tab. So go here, click on app registrations. So this app registration is the one which it's created, today's date. So it's created a new app registration and it's going to um, use for securing your API. So now the same deployment, the same API, whatever we deployed earlier, and we were able to call it successfully from the postman. Just try to send one more request and see. You do not have permissions to view this directory or page. You do not have permissions to, because now your API, your service plan has been secured by your um, app registration, your service principal. So now this is the lock. You need a key to open this gate. So your app registration, it's acting like a door between your API and you. So if you want to pass through the door or the lock, you have to have a key. So now we will see how to generate the key. So what are the things we need to generate the key? And then first we will generate the token, and then we will use that token in our API calls so that you can call the API without any hassle. So now in your Azure, generating the token is a very important and crucial part. If you understand it correctly and clearly, you can do the magic. So these are the minimum and important parameters you can use it to while generating the token. So the grant type, it's client credentials, access token URL, HTTP login, microsoftonline.com, and this is your tenant ID. You have to replace your tenant ID. Then remaining auth, OAuth 2, 2.0, and 10. So this will go to your tenant, and this will tell which tenant you are going to generate the token. Then the client ID. So the app registration ID, the client ID of the app registration or the service principal is the client ID. And the secret is generated um, in your app registration. You have to copy the secret and put it in your postman. And then scope. This is very important. So the scope will tell, so like for which operation this key is being used, or for which API this key is being used, whether you're trying to generate a token for Microsoft Graph or you're trying to generate a token for your API. So that information it will give. Without, if you, most of the time, people um, get wrong in the scope itself, because understanding the scope is very important. The scope will tell for which operation or which API you are trying to generate the token. So here API double backslash and the app registration client ID and the default suffix. So this will tells, okay, I'm generating token for this app registration. So that app registration is assigned to our app service. So please focus on this scope. I will show like some more information how to find the scope the next slides. But this is the information you need to generate the token. We talked about scope. So this is the API. So if you want to see what kind of scope you have to generate the token, go to your setting. To find out the scope for this API, go to the app registration and under expose an API, so you can see the scope, API and the ID. And the ID, this ID and the app client ID will be same. Okay, so now I defined the grant type and the access token URL and the client ID. I retrieved it from the Azure and the client secret and also the scope. Then I'm going to generate the token. So the token generation has been completed successfully. You can see the token. You can validate this token. Just copy this and put it in the jwt.io. This jwt.io will give you to verify this audience. So for this audience, your ID should be matching. That means it is the right token. So let's use the token and hit the API with the token now. So once the token generation has been completed, click on use token and go to your get request. So I did not change anything. Just click on sending. Till you're getting, you do not have permission. Just copy the token here. Um, the token is very sensitive, so I added some extra space at the end. So let me redo that. So there is some extra couple of extra spaces. The token I generated, and then I am hitting. So it will throw an exception. Yeah, if you add some extra, so you're getting this exception. Let's fix that. Remove the extra whatever you added. Now use it. So now it's retrieving from the API. So now your token, I'll clear everything and will do. So you can see the um, request was successful and you can see the data from the Azure. That's it. Just now we witnessed how to secure your API, your Azure. So in this video, we covered how to secure your API using app registrations. We deployed our API into Appservice, and then we employed app registration to secure our APIs. And after that, we have seen how to generate the proper token with the with all the informations like credential type and also the important parameter in your token generation was the scope. Most of the time, most of the people, when they generate the token, they generate with the wrong scope. So you have to understand what kind of scope given to your API, what kind of scope you are generating the token with. So when you are generating the token, please check these parameters: the client ID, the tenant ID, the secret. You have to use the proper secret, and also the scope. So these four are highlighted and explained in detail this video, and also the importance of identity. So please watch this video, try to replicate whatever I demonstrated, and let me know if you see any issues, and definitely I'll answer your questions. So thank you so much for watching our videos. Please share your feedback and also suggest your topics. I'm going to publish more interesting and more real-time scenarios in the future videos. Sit tight and watch for next videos. Thank you so much. Happy coding.